Hi, and welcome to the Film Element Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Gallant, and I'm here with another episode. Today, I'll be interviewing a friend of mine, Dwain Murphy, who hopefully some of you out there know who he is. He's had quite an illustrious career so far, being on shows like Utopia Falls, Digstown, and now he's about to come back for season 2 of Cross, the great Amazon Prime show. So I'm just going to get right into it and bring him right in. Hey, Dwain, what's going on?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. Thanks for being on the podcast. Obviously, you and I have known each other for, I think, almost a decade and have a very bizarre first meeting. But the funny thing is, ever since I met you, and I've told you this many times before, obviously there went a weird almost 7 or 8 year stretch where I think we talked a little bit, but we definitely didn't see each other in person until I think the next time we were on set. And then kind of since that project, we've worked together a few times since. And obviously I appreciate that. I think the friendship and more importantly, the working relationship has grown pretty well. And I think we both benefited from that friendship. But the 8 years between, I watched your career sort of take off. And that was a lot of fun to watch from afar. And maybe if you want to just tell people about, what you're up to these days, how you started, and what are you? You're an actor.
Yeah. I'm an actor, slowly becoming a producer, and I've dabbled in directing, but not at your level, of course. So that's been an amazing experience. But I'm an actor first. That's where my heart lies. That's what the passion is. And I got bit by the acting bug in pretty much high school, but I think it's always been with me. I just discovered it in high school, being an only child and an active imagination. And I always was the guy that was like, my life is not going great, but I want to see other people smile. So that was always my thing, is just being the class clown and making other people laugh and forget about their problems. Meanwhile, that was helping me kind of cope with my problems. So that's kind of how the whole, I guess, performative aspect came about. Um, and then kind of, pursued it into college, went to Humber College, Lakeshore campus, did their film and television program, graduated after 2 years. And then I was fortunate. One of my teachers was good friends with an acting agent, and they were looking for someone young and black to fill, their roster spot, and I just happened to be the guy. And I did an interview with them, and here I am today. And I've since switched many agencies, moved across the border, back and forth, lived in California in some time, and came back to Canada. But art is art, and no matter where you do it, it's all about having the passion and the love for it. And I think that's what we connected over, and why our friendship continues to blossom, is that we just care about the art and not so much all the other fluff that comes with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I try and maintain that. I also understand that I don't consider myself, I consider myself an artist, but I think there's some really true hardcore artists out there that live and breathe it in a way that I don't think I do, at least on their abstract level. There's a lot of art house directors, and I'm sure as an actor, you see this even more probably than I do, right? There's some actors and actresses that take it really seriously. And I think you do as well. You're probably one of the more disciplined actors that I know. I was actually talking about this with someone a few days ago or maybe even yesterday, about how even though I don't consider you a method actor, but especially when we worked on, so we did obviously our short film Fire and Powder, which is now part of Last Known Backup. And then more recently, we obviously did my feature Back Pay, which you had both significant roles on. And for both of those projects, I learned a lot from you and how dedicated and your methodology. Now, like I said, I don't know if I would say your method, but you take it very seriously and you put a lot of time and work into it, which I thought was interesting because I don't think I had seen definitely not another male actor sort of take their work that seriously, but also not be a douche about it too.
First off, I'd have to say, obviously, thank you. That's amazing for just for saying that, and then also too, it's just I think the I don't want to say issue because I don't want to knock anyone's approach to the work,
Hmm.
and there's no blueprint to what is the right way to achieve the desired results. It's just
Yeah.
it's just I believe, which I've noticed that it's not uniform across the board with all artists, is that it's not just about me. Like, yeah, the camera may be on me. Yeah, I may be in the scene. Unless I'm in the scene by myself, even then it's still not about me. You have to do a dance with the crew and the
Yeah.
cinematographer and what's the look they're trying to achieve, and still everyone is getting what they want. Yes, obviously everything runs through the performance and it's built from that, but it's a team effort, and I think people sometimes lose sight of that, and that's kind of where the douchiness comes from, is because
Hmm.
they think it's all wrapped around them and everything is built around them, which yes it is, but it's to a certain point, right?
Yeah.
And it has to be a marriage of sorts where sound is getting it nice and clean, and the cinematographer is able to capture what they need nice and clean so that the editor can get the the desired edits that they want to achieve and get the emotions that they want. So there's a marriage there. There's a happy dance that's supposed to happen. And I think when everyone's on the same page and the project is fun and
Hmm.
everyone's feelings and considerations about the project are being taken into consideration, which is easier said than done. I
Yes.
think when that happens, when there's a happy marriage that happens, it makes the project that much better. Which is,
Hmm.
which is why I like working with you, because it's not just about this is what I wrote, Dwayne. What do you think? It's more about, hey, this is what I wrote, but let's try to work together to get to the place where I think it can be. And to me,
Right.
that's more fun than, hey, this is what I wrote, stand here, say this, and let's just get it done. That, to me, that's not fun.
Yeah.
Then it's just like, okay, well, I'm just a meat puppet now, and I'm just showing up to just convey what you want me to convey, or are we actually trying to tell a story here and make something happen so that we all feel good about it from all aspects? So I think that's kind of where my approach lies, is that I believe it's a team aspect, and that probably comes from my sports background and a lot of sports. So
That was actually something I was going to ask you about. Obviously, you're very athletic, even pushing, not pushing 40, you're 40.
thank you for telling the world.
85 babies, what's up? But yeah, you know, sports was a big part of your life, even I assume probably high school as well, right? Like you played basketball in high school. So do you think, I don't know how much I don't know how much basketball you played or what teams you're on or anything like that. You can go into that if you want, but I was also wondering, do you think the discipline and the cooperation that you had to learn doing those sports, did that influence the way you approached acting once you finally got into that and pushed forward with that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I think what it is that you understand you are part of a team. You could also say a machine, right? A team is a machine, and everyone has to do their part in on the team or in the machine. They have to, play their role, so to speak. So for me in basketball, I was on the shorter side, so I always played the point guard. And the point guard is pretty much the extension of the coach on the floor. So whatever plays that you're supposed to run, that the coach has been implementing in practice, it is your job as the point guard to make sure everyone is in their position and you're getting the ball to them where they like to be on the floor so that they can all thrive and do the
Yeah.
best at their role. And I believe acting is the same thing. If I'm giving a performance and I'm bouncing that performance off of my scene partner, you've heard me say this a million times. I'm only as good as my scene partner.
Yeah.
I could have an amazing individual performance, but if there's two people in the scene, then the scene kind of falls flat, right?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I would slightly push back on that only because I've directed you and edited you several times. So, uh, I know that's a very unselfish thing to say, but there's definitely scenes like I've done a scene with you, and obviously I'm hard on myself, but I think I'm objectively, I can still look at myself and go, ugh. But you've definitely carried a scene, or I wouldn't even say a whole scene, but definitely a take where myself or someone else is flailing a little bit. Like I think you certainly have moments where you sort of take over, but in a good way. Like it's never in a way that feels like it doesn't make sense that we're focusing on this character right now. Like it always comes from a real organic place. And that's why, people like me want to cast you and stuff, is that I'm all about, like, I'm definitely about talent, but I also want people that just jump out, and it's an intangible. And I would say, like, you were like that, Samora was like that, Samora Smallwood for Fire and Powder. Like, Samora just jumps out of the screen in every scene she's in. And you two together in that project it was exactly the title. It's Fire and Powder. It's just, you can't not watch it.
Which is amazing, and I thank
Yeah.
you for that, right? And I think that's a testament to say that that's what happens when teamwork comes to a happy place, right? And you're able to bounce back and forth, and everyone feels like they're locked in and they're contributing to the team, and nothing's being taken away from them, and everything's being accepted. And I think for me, what I try to do with that, and I thank you for saying that about me, with scenes and stuff like that. But I think it's because I'm going to bounce off of whatever's given to me.
Yeah.
I learned that in acting school. There's no, like, of course, there's going to be takes where you feel way more connected, and then there's other times you feel less connected. But it's the idea of being open to whatever your scene partner is throwing your way, and bouncing it back. And just having that game where, okay, well, this is what you're throwing to me. I'm going to throw it back to you. And we're playing catch, essentially. And whatever comes out of there, you're not going to use 100% of it, but we want to know that we feel connected enough that, hey, a lot of that is usable, and let's go again and let's see what else we can find. That's why every take should feel different to me.
Yeah, and I think not only that, but we obviously felt this a lot on Back Pay because I was directing and acting almost in basically every scene, right? So there was, and the way Chris Moresby, our DOP, shoots, at least he did on that project, he sort of had to have my back, and I had to rely on him a lot. But the way he operated is like, if something wasn't working, he would just stop us in the middle of the scene, tell us to go back, or he would just move the camera. He would literally move the camera sometimes while we're in the middle of performing. And if we had more money and time to do that properly, we would obviously stop, reset, get ourselves centered again, and then go. And I think that was operating like that was very difficult at times because, as you know, like, I beat myself up a lot on the takes that didn't work from my end. But then I also remember I was like, oh yeah, like we were running around crazily. And yeah, I was getting stopped halfway through a sentence because I had to go over here, and then I had to restart, and just, again, finding that, the Tom Cruises and the, number one call sheet actor people can do that, but a guy like me who has to remember all this stuff at once, it was hard to, like, get right back into that. And I think it is for most actors too. Like that's a tough way to operate, but film is like that. You don't always get to settle into what you're doing. You sort of have to go, and then you might get interrupted, and then you're like, God damn it, that was a great take. And then maybe we can use it, or maybe not, or the focus was soft, or, the framing was bad, and now we can't use it.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen, right? You're dealing with technology, you're dealing with other people. That's why I say it's a machine, right? And everyone on the machine has to feel good about what they're doing in their role. So obviously, going back to Chris, he's just our cinematographer. He was just trying to figure out what's the best way to make sure we're capturing this at the best possible way, so that all emotions are being captured, all points are being hit, and that's his job in the machine, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So that's why I say it's a
and he was great at it, right? Like he did such a good job at that, and especially having my back and everyone else's back, because he's right. Like when every time he did that, and I would see it in the takes and the rushes and the dailies, I'm like, yeah, that you needed to change that, or yes, it was out of focus, or we weren't in focus. Like I'm glad he would do that.
And
Um,
that's a team. That's a team.
yeah,
Trusting each other to be in their role and to bring what they need to bring to the table.
yeah, yeah, and that was really invaluable to have that. I'm curious, what has been so what's been the biggest production that you've been on so far? Like as I mentioned before, the three I can think of that you were on is Utopia Falls, Digstown, and most recently Cross. Is Cross the biggest one?
Um, Let me see. I mean, if we're talking about it in terms of budget and reach worldwide, globally, if we're talking about that as in biggest, then yeah, it would be the American projects, any American projects I
Yeah.
I've done. So yeah, like I mean, years ago I did. If anyone remembers that Jennifer Love Hewitt show, Ghost Whisperer,
Okay. Yeah.
that was on the what was that? That was, I think, the WB lot we shot that on. So it's like that was a massive project way back then. I did The Mentalist way back when. If
Okay.
anybody remembers that, that was another big U.S. project, and I think we shot that on. Was that the CBS lot or W? I might be mixing these things up because they were so old. But yeah, I mean, currently, obviously, it's going to be Cross, because Cross is on Amazon. That's a big U.S. production. Shooting in Canada. I've got Vought Rising, which is the prequel to the Boys spinoff.
Oh wow.
That's also another huge Amazon project coming in the
So talk about that. What are you doing on Vought Rising?
Yeah, so that's supposed to drop in the fall. It's a spin-off for the boys. It's the prequel to how the supers all started and how the Vought company started. And I'm playing a husband to one of the main characters who gets entangled with some detectives that are trying to track down the soups or the super that killed the detective's friend. And my wife's hiding this whole secret identity life of her helping these detectives, and our relationship begins to crumble because of her whole secret life until eventually she decides to reveal that information of what's going on. I probably just gave away way too much information there.
I was gonna say, I'm like, yo, did we just get some spoilers?
So probably gonna have to block a lot of that out, but yeah, so that's a new show coming, and that's a huge one for Amazon, and then also the rumblings of season 3 for Cross are beginning. We might be shooting that this summer, so yeah, I mean, those are currently the biggest projects I've done or been doing. So
And so I'm gonna ask the question that maybe like everyone's aunt asks, right? Is that since these projects have hit, have you noticed, like, I guess more specifically, Cross, I guess that would be your biggest one. Has there been a jump in, buzz around Dwain Murphy since that's hit?
asking the wrong person, you'd probably have to
Okay.
ask my agent that question. I'm really
Right.
not good on that front. I'm also not good at the whole social media thing and riding, whatever wave that they tell you to ride. I don't know what this wave is, but
Yeah, I mean that's the funny. The wife and I talk about this all the time about how casual you are about not that you're famous, but just your desire to like push your own legacy and your career. Like you're so laid back about your social media and all that stuff. And we've joked about this, right? Like you going to the parties or the networking stuff, you're just like whatever.
I mean, look, again, that part of the business is to each their own. Some people
Yeah.
feel they've got to be at every event and be seen, and yeah, I mean, maybe that works, maybe it doesn't work. I can probably count on, maybe from the circles that I know, I can probably count on maybe one finger or maybe two of just how many people actually get jobs from networking.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, I'm probably, I guess, from the older school era where you used to go into the room to audition, and You met people face to face, and they casted you off of the vibe that they felt in the room, and that was what I was from, and that's where my acting was built. So I'm still a big believer in that. Social media came around as I was in the business, so I remember where I was when Twitter launched.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember what I was doing, or vaguely remember what I was doing when Instagram launched. So it's like, to me, these are tools, yes, and now the business is heavily leaning into those tools, but I'm also just a big believer in, like, talent and hard work speaks a ton of volumes, because nothing beats word of mouth.
Yeah.
Nothing beats word of mouth. And that's what I believe, but again, everyone to each their own, and I don't think there's anyone wrong for networking and schmoozing and doing those things. It's just, I have a family, and I would rather spend that time with my family.
Yeah, I think you actually have a great point there, is that especially in this industry, and I'm sure there's a lot of similar industries, the music industry, I'm sure even construction, whatever, the restaurant industry, you want to spend time. Like, obviously, you and I are in a similar spot in our lives. I think you're a little further along than I am, but now we have families, young families, and we want to spend time with them. And 10 years ago, that was something I didn't have to worry about. I could just go out and make my stuff and not have to worry about it. And now I feel like at this point in my life, especially with the kids, it's like I have to now rein a lot of that in, and also reckon with the decisions that I've made 10 years ago, because they've affected me and my family at this point in positive, and obviously in positive and negative ways. But I find that aspect of it certainly a lot more difficult to balance now at my age. And then on top of it, I just have to figure out how to move forward so that everyone's good.
Yeah, no, listen, I think that's the thing you wrestle with as an artist, right? When you have a young
Yeah.
family, is that, you feel the guilt of having to, distance yourself from your family to pursue your craft because you're self-employed, but at the same
Hmm.
time you feel, that guilt of being separated from them. you know
Hmm.
and it's a hard thing to juggle. I mean, I struggle with it, I do, but I've also just learned to be even keel about it, right? And of course it's easier said than done. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. There's going to be times you're like, where the heck is my next dollar coming from?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we're not in this by ourselves. We have a family, we have a partner, we have a person that we have chosen to, hitch ourselves to, and they're in it with us. And the great thing about it is that sometimes, as much as we beat up ourselves on how hard we should be working, it's like, it's nice to have a partner to be like, hey, we're in this together. If
Yeah.
if you're fighting, I'm fighting with you. And to me, from my point of view, I feel like that just gives me more motivation to work harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And to
Yeah.
and to make
Absolutely.
and to make sure that whatever opportunity comes my way, whatever auditions and all those things come my way, is that I'm making sure I'm presenting myself in the best light, and I've worked myself up to that moment to make sure I present and do the best that I can in that moment. Because if I feel like, if you don't, you're doing yourself and your family a disservice.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
so to me, it's just extra motivation. Stressful, yes, but it's just extra motivation.
Yeah. I was telling my brother, he's about 12 years older than me. I think it was like 6 months ago. I was telling him how I had to go out to set. I was working, but I had an audition. So I got up at like 6 a.m. to do that audition before everyone woke up. And then, and he goes, "Oh, how often does that happen?" And at that time, when I was working on set, I was like, "Oh, it might happen like once or twice a week." And he just looked at me like, he's like, "What the? Like, how can you put yourself through that? That sounds like a nightmare." And I was like, "Really?" I like, again, because I just beat myself up. I'm like, no, I don't even know if this is enough of should I even be sleeping? Should I be sleeping more than 4 hours a night and be spending, that's that hustle culture sort of infecting your brain, whether you take it seriously or not.
Well, I mean, the thing is too, like, again, I've learned over the years, just from the experience of being in this business for so long, is not just being even keel, but enjoying the downtime, because that's the time you get to spend with your family and bond. And then, when it's busy, and you just accept that and say, okay, cool, I get it. It's busy now. I'm going to ride that wave. And then there's going to be a time when I'm home for another 2 months, So it's just accepting those moments and really making the best of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely struggle to do that because I feel like sometimes I haven't been busy enough to justify the downtime. So it's sort of, you live in this horrendous middle ground where it's like you have even these past couple days, my daughter's been sick, and I enjoy spending this time with her, but I'm also freaking out inside because I'm like, I'm not working, I don't have sick days yet or anything. So it's really, really tough to sort of balance that. And, but we chose this world, so it is what it is.
There you go. We chose it. That's the correct answer.
One thing I want to talk, just couple of things before you have to take off. But the first project I want to talk about is Fire and Powder, the one that we worked on, and which is now part of Last Known Backup, which is streaming on Tubi and Amazon Prime. So why don't you talk just a little bit about that and what that experience was like, and what sort of memories you have of it, or what it was like to do that one?
Yeah, I mean, first off, for me, I still think about that project because I'm like, man, if we had a bigger budget on that project would be like, not that it wasn't great, it was great. I'm just saying, obviously, we had conversations about this. We're like, man, because we talked about that script, what, 4 or 5 years ago? Before we made
COVID.
the short.
Very early on into COVID, for sure.
Yeah, and I just remember the first time. I always remember the first time I read that script, what I felt, because I love action stories, and I love action projects, and projects that really have the characters moving and hustling, and there's great stakes involved and your lives are at risk. I love projects like that. Who doesn't like going to the movies to watch an action project with high stakes? I just loved that element of it, and I thought it was so fun, and it was just rich, and it was so cultural, and I loved the fact that it was so rich of culture, and that's kind of what drew me into the project, and the complexities of the characters. So, when you came back around all those years later and you're like, let's just make this a short, let's do it. And, and I think you were like, hey, I got Samora on board. And I was like, that's amazing. I've crossed paths with her a million times. I've never worked with her. And I was like, I don't even know what to expect with this person, but I know she's got good energy. And then from the moment we met at the house that we were filming at, and I just saw that the energy she came with, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is going to be fun. This is going to work. And yeah, I think we created fireworks, and me and Samora were pretty locked in, and I think it made things behind the camera for you a lot easier, because it was like, oh shit, okay, they're already clicking. Let me just make sure that I'm capturing what I need to capture. So that was really, really fun, because I think me and Samora hit the ground running on that project.
Yeah, 100%. Like, casting is 90% of your job, really. And once you get that right, then you can just sort of sit back and do what you got to do. Because like I said, when I shot that, I shot it myself on my own camera with my own lenses, and we just had a sound person and an AD for half of the time. The rest of the time was just me and like one little light.
That's a testament to you, man.
Yeah, well, but like I said, you guys made that really easy for me and really enjoyable. It's so crazy to write something and then watch actors take it and turn it into something. That sort of leads me into the next project that we did this past May, which basically just finished, called Back Pay, which is a feature film. It's not released anywhere yet, but we're working on that. You had a very significant role in this one as well. And I think I told you, so this obviously I starred in, directed, wrote, produced, all that stuff. I'd never done an acting gig anywhere close to this before, but I thought the only way I could possibly make this work is if Dwain plays the other guy in most of the scenes that I'm in. And I told you, I'm not doing this movie if you don't do it.
Oh, man. No pressure.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm glad you had the pressure, but and I was right. You brought exactly what that role needed 100%.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm
And
glad.
And going back to what we were saying about characters coming to life, there's a really strong character, Jimena, in it, and Golden Madison played her. And that was another one that I was just like, I couldn't imagine someone would play it that well and play it that fun and interesting. And
Yeah, I mean that was a happy revelation. I think we
yeah,
both discovered, right?
because that was a hard role to cast. Yeah, I thought Golden was just unbelievable. An amazing happy accident. Or not accident, but very intentional.
I think it all came out how it was supposed to come out, and
yeah,
came together how it was supposed to come together, and everything happens for a reason, and it was great because again, like me and Golden had just worked together on another project, so I thought throwing her name into the mix would help because there was already a little bit of chemistry there just from knowing each other from the previous project, and I think that's kind of helped stir the pot even faster because of that chemistry from the previous project. So,
oh, 100%.
so
Yeah,
I think it just kind of helped us because I was so wrapped up in the fact of like, oh man, Mike is directing and he's in this, and I'm like, okay, I got to help make this easier for him. Again,
yeah,
thinking as a team, like, okay, what can I bring to the table that's going to make it easier for him? What can I bring, behind the scenes that's going to make it easier for him? Because again, I'm just
yeah,
thinking as a team because you want to get the best performance out of yourself, and that's also going to rely on who's in the scene with you, who's a part of the project with you. So I found myself really thinking about that aspect of the project when I was coming in. Is like, what can I bring to the table to really facilitate making things easier for Mike and for everybody, so that there's less on his plate to worry about.
Yeah, and obviously I was super appreciative of that because and I could feel that, and I could feel that from everybody, like the core 5 or 6 of us that were all part of this project. Everyone brought so much to it, and that's exactly what you want. And I've been fortunate in most projects. The people that I cast are like that. Some people just sort of clock in and then clock out, and still give you something good, but and then they go about their merry way, and that's fine too. But it was great just sort of how we all sort of became a family on back pay, I thought specifically. And so what was sort of your overall feelings or your experience while doing that project in particular? The reason I ask is and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that was the first role in a feature film that you had that had like a pretty decent arc and a lot of screen time for you. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's another feature film I'm not thinking of, but because I know you were in like Brother and stuff, but you weren't, you didn't have as big of a role in that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's been others, but I mean, I liked Back Pay because of just the fact of like, um, outside of the story, I consider you a friend, a good friend, someone
yeah,
I enjoy not just working with, but just talking shit, talking family with, all that stuff. So for me,
yeah,
that aspect was really cool, and because we were kind of already conveying that on camera of two buddies who had history together, to me, it didn't really feel like a job. It just felt like, oh, okay, cool. Like here's two people going through their life experiences, and I just thought, okay, well, how does this relate to me and Mike? And I was like, oh yeah, this
yeah,
is like when we have our one-on-ones about just family struggles and
yeah,
what it is to be a man and all these things. So and I know that was loosely what the project was based on, a lot of your own life experiences, but it was just nice to be able to actually artistically do it, but still make it feel like, oh, this is just me and Mike talking. So that I found that aspect to be fun, and then also just watching you kind of like jump through all these hoops of like, okay, I need this shot, and learning and me learning your director's mind on what you want and what you want to get.
yeah,
So I look at you in that aspect a lot as a director, because I'm like, Mike knows what he wants. He knows how to get what he wants. And then it's like, for me as the actor, I'm just like, all I got to do is just make sure that, he's getting the goodness. Because the vision is already clear to you. And I really
yeah,
like that when you come into projects, precisely what you're looking for, and it's not a guessing game. And of course, there's moments where you're like, I know what I want, but I don't know how to get it. And then
Right.
we figure those moments out together. So it was just the collaborative effort of being a part of that project of Backpay is what I really enjoyed. And then the characters were so close to who me and you are that I was like, oh man, this doesn't feel like work at all.
Yeah, like I definitely I wouldn't say what it goes on in the film was like my life, but
No, no.
there was anxieties that I could pull from that were basically right there, and I figured that acting wise, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do something like this and not just be a comedic oaf, and try and be a real person, I at least have to, and like a real person with pathos and just a lot of heart. I got to at least design this character in ways that he's going through stuff I can pull from. It doesn't have to be what I've been through, but I can closely relate to what it is. And I learned so much about acting doing that, and just how close you can get to your real life in certain scenes, especially ones that are really intense. And you're like, I didn't like thinking about that, or I didn't like doing that, but it helped convey a certain thing on camera, and you're like,
No, it's true. Listen, I believe artistry, any artistry, doesn't have to be just acting, but I believe artistry is therapeutic, man. I really, really believe
Really?
that. That's just my own personal belief. I know other actors that do believe that as well, and some who don't. But I really, really believe that artistry is therapeutic. Art imitates life, and it's a really good way sometimes to just release emotions and channel it into the work.
yeah. Well, the funny thing is, so when we shot the final scene, that was actually at my parents' house in the garage, which you are familiar with from Fire and Powder, and my parents were in their house, but they heard us sort of like screaming and carrying on throughout that whole scene. And when everyone left or most people were gone, my mom said to me and my dad, she goes, I almost get concerned that you guys are putting yourselves through that. Like, I'm hearing Saled cry and I'm hearing you like lose your mind, and I worry about your mental health. And I was like, no, it's the opposite. Like, it actually, when it's over, you feel like, oh,
Yeah, you feel relieved. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, not relieved, but it definitely isn't there anymore. Like, you're just like, okay, it's out. Like you said, you sort of exercised something out of your body. And I found that very interesting, because I don't think I'd never pushed myself that far. Not in anything that I could easily remember acting wise. That scene, just in terms of the intensity, like trying to get that. I'm sure you've been through something like that more, but yeah, I found the whole thing great in terms of like being able to, and I think pretty much everyone in the film sort of had these great, like, okay, we got a chill scene here, and then over here we're being really intense. So there's like a range of stuff everyone can sort of pull from. Like, no one is sort of one note in the film, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
Hopefully audiences agree.
Absolutely, and I think that's a testament to your writing of making sure that each character was, fleshed out and had a lot going on for them, so that the actor involved had a lot to play with.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, man. Well, I think we've done it. I'll let you. I know you got to go pick up your kid, but I super appreciate that. Do you have anything you want to plug or promote or talk about right now before I let you go?
Yeah, I guess I should promote the shows. Cross season 2 dropping February 11th, I believe that's next week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On
Great.
Amazon Prime, and then we've got some stuff coming in the fall, and stay tuned for next year, probably or later this year, maybe. I'm not sure. Across season 3.
Ooh, great. That's awesome. All right, man. Well, it was great chatting with you, and I'm sure we'll do this again soon.
All right, brother. Till the next one.